Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hide and Seek. And today, our title is Unapologetically Me, Living a Full Life. So, what happens when we release all the ways that we're hiding ourselves? And what's your life like when you are comfortable being yourself, even with all the fear of judgments and fear of what is somebody else going to think? So today I'm really excited to share this topic with my great friends, Sunshine and Alana. So I'd love for you guys to introduce yourself. Sunshine, do you want to go first?
Hello, thank you so much for having me here. I'm Sunshine, and my business is Infinity Soul Connection. I'm a medium, an energy healer, and a soul spiritual life coach. And I absolutely love what I do and support people in. And a lot of times our physical body can overrule all our other bodies and systems. And sometimes we can just know that physical and nothing more. But there's the emotional and mental and spiritual and ether bodies, which everything's energy and constantly changing at all moments. But us being humans, a lot of times desire to just be the same or be in our comfort zone or think that the world is just happening to us and we can't do anything about it, right? And that is kind of ass backwards on how we've been conditioned since we've been here and throughout society and through generational patterns. So it's beautiful when we can step out and be our true selves. So thank you, Jacqueline.
Yeah, thank you for all of that. Alana?
Hello, hello. I am Alana Heim of Prosperity Alignment, and I am a bridge between really the physical world and spiritual world and everything in between for all of it. And I intentionally guide people to recognize that the prosperity is within rather than without. And so we do have physical strategies that we all implement when it comes to finance. And yet it's more the spiritual strategies, which are really intuition and flow and feminine qualities and dynamics that I love to bring into the mix. Because as I sometimes say, uh, if a woman is pregnant for 9 months, you don't want to push the whole 9 months. And yet we don't want to do that in business. We don't want to do that with our finances either.
What a great analogy. I hadn't heard that before. Yeah, we're spending all those months, and somebody had said to me about a pregnant woman, yeah, she's growing arms and legs. And I was like, oh my God, we do. When we're pregnant, we're growing legs, arms, teeth, like that whole concept, the wording of that was like, yeah. And we kind of toss it off, right? Like, oh, she's just pregnant. We've gotten so used to just saying
No
that.
big deal. Growing humans.
And how do I pop this 8, 9 pound baby out of me? So thank you for that little jaunt.
You're welcome.
But I am Jacqueline Kane, and I love helping people get to the root cause of their physical, emotional, and financial pain using strategies like ancestral energy clearing, inner child healing, voice dialogue, EFT, really techniques that not a lot of people are using, but they all work. So I'm so happy to touch on this topic. And before we get to live our unapologetically me life, first we have to like realize that we're not living that. So I thought we would go around and kind of answer the question, when did you first realize you weren't living your life? And what was that like for you? What was your journey? Sunshine, would you like to start?
That is a big question, yes, but I will jump right in. Um, I married very young, and I was, well, not married. I was with my partner very young in my teenage years, and we were together 17 years. He's the father of my amazing children. Um, but a lot of times we can get caught up in realizing, yes, we're souls here on earth, having a human experience. But we can get caught up when we really love somebody or when we're really young. We might think, at that time of being a teenager, I just wanted to be wanted. I didn't have anything else around that, right? And as you grow, I think as a couple or an intimate couple, you have your individuality still, but you also have that oneness, right? And you grow together but separate too in that individuality. And that just wasn't transpiring. And I really was wanting that and seeking that. So a lot of times in a relationship, one can grow and one can stay the same. And it got out of so much like alignment and defensiveness and me thinking and learning, right? And experiencing and feeling the only person I can change is myself.
Mhm.
We can never not or shall not change one another, right? So that is when it really, and not only with the separation and the parting, like what was best for me, what was best for the children, we can desire for a partner to have this or desire this, but if they're in denial, or if they're in defensiveness and they can't see, right? Like, and blaming,
Yeah.
that's when it really occurred for me. And when it occurred that way for me, it also may had an influence of career change too. So that all transpired. And I found the longer that I had had this fantasy, but only if my love can change him, or only if I can give like 500% into this relationship and make the family work, right, then everything would be good. But that's not the way it happens, right?
Yeah.
I can only change me. And so that is when it really happened for me. And then afterwards, going inside, feeling how I was in all my different bodies and systems, and talking to my body where we're at and moving forward, right? And making such big changes in your life doesn't mean that you're going to come out and just be flying, and right, it takes baby steps, right? It takes a lot of acceptance of oneself. So that's what
Mm.
I felt like sharing when you asked that humongous question, Jacqueline. A little
Well, we
bit of
have to become
diarrhea at the mouth
aware.
there.
Yeah, we have to become
Yes.
aware of where are we, right? And I think you bring up a good
Mhm.
point. It's all relationships help us realize whether we're living our life unapologetically ourselves or we've attracted the people that really aren't good for us. And that's what happened to me was I'd gotten to a point in my life where situations were showing me the people in my life were not the ones that that I wanted, realizing that people on the outside look good and the relationships look like they're fun and they're supportive. But underneath, there was this whole underlying story. And when you realize, oh my God, what have I attracted? What kind of life have I created for myself, my kids? Um, it can be very eye-opening. And you're right. It doesn't happen overnight, but once you start that process and you start taking those baby steps to really say, I deserve more, then the right people will start showing up. Then you'll feel safe speaking up for yourself and everybody cheer you on instead of hearing the comments and the criticism and the judgment. So thank you, Sunshine. How about you, Alana?
Yes. And I'd just like to add
Yeah.
one more thing, that life gets more chaotic, right? When we are living that way, right? Things will keep showing
Oh,
up to give us a little gentle like push, right? And
oh yeah.
very chaotic. And two, when it comes to relationships, to step out of whatever kind of relationship it is, it doesn't mean you resent that person or you hate them or you judge them or you blame them.
Yeah.
You can leave a relationship in full love, right? I always raise the kids saying, I love your dad, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
and I'll always speak of that. So,
Yeah.
yes, just thought I'd put
Yeah.
that tidbit in. That's what was coming up.
Yeah.
So,
Because we're living a life of chaos, and that's that may have been what we were raised in and drama, people who weren't really honest with themselves and their feelings. And when they're not, they create drama to blame other people. And so that continues to grow until you're like, this isn't working out for me anymore. And it does take time. First, you have to understand how you got there, and then lovingly and consciously start to have conversations with people and realize the ones that are true friends, the ones who are with you on your journey, you're going to grow together. And some people are just not right. You've kind of outworn the relationship. And so it's just time to move on, which can create grief and sadness. And there's absolutely ways to deal with that and process that. It's all about feeling your feelings and really figuring out who in your life lights you up, right? Because now I get to hang out with you guys and have amazing conversations like this. This is fun for me compared to the drama and the chaos that I grew up in and that I spent probably 50 years of my life attracting more. So thank you, Sunshine. How about you, Alana?
Well, what I heard the question was, what was your journey? And I was immediately like, what is my journey? Right? Because the journey is, I've not arrived, or it's still
Still
evolving.
happening.
So just like Sunshine saying, like, oh, like it's so vast, because I see the phases in life, and there are different phases. And I actually feel like I was more apologetically me when I didn't have family and kids, not necessarily the partner,
Yeah,
the children. Like
right.
that started to change me. I lost more of me and who I had been, who I have been. And yet at the same time, those parts where I could say I lost me, I didn't. They were just like dormant, or they were hidden, or shoved into a corner, like down the stairs into a basement, like, and but yet then now I'm exploring these other parts, right? So as much as I could say, well, that was me, but then who am I? It's always evolving. And so
Yeah.
the journey, we're always going through different life cycles. And even for me to see, like, there's decades. And
Mhm.
as much as I was leaving, let's just say, even my career as the certified public accountant, because I wasn't me anymore. I was just a robot in tax
Mhm.
seasons and miserable, and then taking it out on my husband. And he's like, you're an asshole. Like, you don't have to be in this job. And how much our
Mhm.
identity and who we think we are then ties to not just the family, but who are you as this person who's doing. And that's something that I'm still going through iterations and cycles of exploring. Who am I, and where did I lose myself? So when I
Mhm.
started Prosperity Alignment 10 years ago, I was like, all right, I'm going to be me. And now enter the whole business world, where I can now tell you 10 years later, I'm effing over it. I hate it. It's not me at all. And so I'm in this space too of, it's not about doing as much as being. And that's a whole new world to crack open.
Mhm.
And then to find and remember and recognize, oop, there's those parts of me down in the basement. Like, let's go retrieve those. And remember, when was I just authentic and in my own space, and not trying to people please, or not try and impress or perform, or, get people to like me. And now I'm really at this place of like, okay, who's the only person in my life that is always going to be in my life? It's me. And
Mhm.
most of it's all fabricated. It's all distortion. It's all a movie, right? And all these people come in to, like, help you grow into who you are. And why do I care to impress them and try to be like them, or
Yeah.
get them to like me, when at the
Mm.
end of the day, if I could go home and almost, like, I guess, see it in like multiple personalities. Like, there's parts of myself that get to come out, but it's like we get to just throw a party and like dance and celebrate and be like, oh my God, weren't we amazing today? That's the part I haven't quite figured out. That's where the journey is. I can feel this next decade is going to become more of truly flipping that
Mm,
I was so focused on serving and I can't anymore. It's
mhm,
depleted me.
mm.
It doesn't fulfill me. Nobody gives a shit. And so I'm just, okay, if I can then internalize that and take care of me and enjoy and create and be,
Mm,
that's the new journey. That's the new part that I'm not quite there, but I can feel the unapologetic me like wanting to finally just be like, yeah, this is who I am. Take it or
mhm.
leave it.
Yeah.
And um yeah, just like this new confidence or this part to just recognize where I've been and where it all's changing. So that is my is journey. That is my current journey. I don't quite know the destination. I don't even know what I'm creating. And yet, thank you for being on this whimsical, adventurous journey with me.
I love it. And I love what you're saying because I've been realizing, and I forgot that, I mean, I used to work in a hospital. I used to take x-rays. So looking back, that was not me. How our healthcare system treats patients and individuals and misses the whole other piece. But it was a learning journey. That's where I started. Um, and we are all bipolar, I say, because who am I today? Am I the confident one? Am I the, oh, I have to overgive today? Or, oh, I have to jump in and save people today? Like, we're all bipolar. It just depends on how long we're choosing to stay in that darkness, right? Or down that rabbit hole, or spinning. Spinning is what I'm seeing a lot of people do lately is just go from one topic to the other and not really like settle in,
Mm,
right? And so even though we're still doing those things, at least now it's less time, right? That I'm down that rabbit hole or that I'm procrastinating. Because when you have the right tools, you get to say, okay, today, in this moment, I'm going to give myself 5, 10 minutes. I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. I'm going to sit on the couch and watch useless TV or scroll on my phone, right? But I know that I've got 10 minutes. I'm not going to spend 8 hours. I'm going to choose. And maybe there will be days when I spend 8 hours, but I have a choice and I have tools that will very quickly move me out of it or talk and connect with a friend who is not going to let me stay there. Um, and the other thing, Alana, you bring us to another topic of how do we define ourselves outside of our roles? And I don't know if I could have done my business when I had my kids, even though I did try to open it up doing massages. But as a mom, my whole role was what are the kids doing? What do they need? Even if they were just in the house, in another room, as I'm doing a massage, part of me is like, are they going to be quiet? Are they getting along? Like all these things. So I do give credit to the young women who are trying to run a business and raise their kids at the same time. It's a lot. Um, so, Sunshine, what are your thoughts about your roles and how do you define your roles?
Well, my roles, I do believe like societal and generational stuff has put roles on us, and
Mm,
I'm not a big one on labels that way. But
yeah.
and I've seen like career wise, right? Like we're told young, right? We when we get grow up, what do we want to do? We got to have a house, we got to have our license, we got to have a car, we got to get married, we got to have a career, we got to have all this starts getting instilled
Mm,
so early. And then that's how we lose ourselves too, right? Is because we might be somebody that puts 98% of us into our career, right? And I'm the opposite as far as like, why not put 98% into us, right? And put that
mm,
2% into something else. I have no interest in coming back. Like I believe in being in the present moment. I have no interest in bypassing stuff and then having to do or replay it again and again in this lifetime, let alone another lifetime when we're not here. I'd like to be present and play in that role. I
Mm.
really believe on like when we're young, right? And we have that curiosity, that wonder, and that surprise. I bring that forth every day when I wake up. Like, oh, and what am I grateful for? And who am I going to meet? And I don't want to forget that I love to roll in the mud, right? Like, I love that feeling. I used to love making mud pies. And if we all can connect back
You
to what we
did?
loved, right? As a little one, right? I was always making concoctions from Mother Earth. I've always been like different. I've always felt that kind of judgment on like, oh, she's far out there. Is she high or what's happening here? I've always had that. If you want to view it that way, right? But I love being life and I want uh, like living life and I'd like to experience
Mm.
all that I can when I'm here. But it doesn't always have
Mm.
the rainbows, right? That vomit and shit's going to be on the rainbow and we just got to take it time and see how it got there. And we don't need all the details. But like you say, Jacqueline, just we don't have to sit in it, right? And go over it for like a month or 6 months or like something happened to me when I was 18 or 22 and now you're 72 and you're still talking about it, right?
Yes.
So because we miss so much in
Yes.
playing a victim role or saying that this happened to me. And so yes, labels I don't really enjoy roles or like labels to me and just to be fulfilled and like we never know when our life force is going to run out,
Mm.
right? It can be like I think of today as a gift and tomorrow a present if it comes. So trying to be your best that you can be and experience all that you can with like happiness. So some people maybe have been living life and never really felt that happiness or just only had brief moments of it.
Yeah.
And that is like joy and bliss and happiness and, feeling alive and wanting to be, right, and experience things. So, because when we're up there and we're not in our vessel or temple, right? Like we just take so much for granted when we're here, right? We can't hug a tree. We don't have arms. We can't hug a person. We can't swim in a lake. We can't feel the cool and warmth of the floating of our body, right? Because we're energy and we don't have so to me in the roles we play different roles in different lifetimes too, right? So definitely for sure. And every time we're here, we do play those roles. So yeah,
Mm.
I don't just yeah, be you and do the best that you can do every day for you. But we're so
Mm.
trained to think of for everybody else because we can't. It's like that inner stuff and then that outer stuff, and we're trained so differently than that, right? Like on,
Yeah.
oh, everything we need is on the outside of us, and how people see us is on the outside of us. And oh, is my garden better than yours? And look, I got this new car, and look at my
Mm.
house, and I have somebody coming in to clean it. And just it just gets so further from the truth that what we are. I remember I always seek to live a certain way for the kids to be in touch with themselves. And when we first moved out here, I remember one of the kids, she was in grade 7 at the time, um, going to see my parents and having a little bit mini breakdown, right? On like, I just, I'm sick of the trees. I'm sick of the stars. I'm sick of like, oh, me. I want to be around other people, right? But that was really important to me is for them to be tapped into their senses and their senses and their feelings, right? And to be able to feel the wind before it was actually coming, right? Like to be tapped in that way, to hear in the silence of Mother Earth what they are able to hear and just different things. And for a lot of us, our kids will be raised with not even knowing how food grows, right? Or how to plant a seed
Mm.
or so that's kind of always been my focus on being tuned into like the Mother Earth and the spiritual part, the being. So,
Mm. I love it.
yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and so you talk about experiencing life, right? And we all know those people, those friends sometimes or family members who are stuck in the past. Or whenever you sit down and have coffee with them, they're talking about what's not working in their life and they're criticizing and judging. It's like that's all they talk about. And it can be really frustrating when you've surrounded yourself with people who judge and criticize and go down that rabbit hole. And it absolutely is not experiencing life. I think a couple years ago, I went on vacation with my husband and some of his friends, and it was an experience. It was, he planned the whole thing out from the restaurants to what we did and what we saw. And I sometimes think there's a difference between a guy going on vacation and a woman going on vacation. For him and his friends, it was luxury. It was the best of everything. And sometimes I love my girlfriends, but sometimes we don't go, we don't spend as much as they do, right? We still experience in life, but it's not as full as some men do when they go and take care of themselves. And so it really showed me how important experiencing life is. And every moment, if we stepped into more of that than talking about what isn't working, how would that fuel our lives, right? Like I'd have more energy, more creativity, more excitement. And I would love to see more children, more adults really experiencing their life. That would be like a ripple effect that we've never experienced before. So thank you, Sunshine. How about you, Alana?
I'm enjoying this conversation because it's especially like to think in terms of roles where it's like, yep, been there, done that, play the role of mom and wife and employee and business owner. And yet
Mm,
then there's also like, oh, do I want to play the role of being a rancher? Nope. Do I, and even right now, like I've been in this space of like, how how do I show up? Like, what am I doing? You know, and so sometimes I'll look at LinkedIn, like, are there jobs? And it's like, nope, no, no, like everything's such a no. And so, you know, and I kind of do live in, I don't always know what I want, but I know what I don't want, and that can help me
mm,
get closer to what I want.
yeah.
And yet, what role? So right now, like what came to me was like, well, maybe I want to be the role of a badass. Like I get to make it up. What does that mean? You know, and that like feels more like, you know, the unapologetic side of like, ooh, that could be fun. And when I really look at things in my life, I trigger people. So why not just freaking own it? Like, you know, like, yep, triggered you. All right. Like, good for me. Like, you know, and there is a part of me, you know, like my Mercury is in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is more emotional and watery, and Mercury is how I communicate. And so I'm not going to be logically detailed. And, you know, sometimes I meet people and then in business they're like, you need to do this and say this. And I'm like, nope, right? Not my role, right? I'm not playing that game. That is not the role. I am not to just like uh fit in line and do what everyone else is doing. So if I'm here to be the badass, and you know, in this lifetime and other lifetimes, I've also seen I tend to play the role of the rebel. And I've had to
Mm,
kind of reframe it though, right? Because rebel can feel like, you know, I really am like gonna stick up my middle finger and be like, you know, do whatever I want. And it's more, no, I am creator, right? And to create, you usually have to go off the beaten path and create something that hasn't been done before. And for everybody who's falling in line, they're thinking, wow, you're the rebel. And so it's, you know, it's this reframing of what are the roles, but what excites me? What brings me joy? And there is a part of me that goes down rabbit holes and sees how things are. And I just can have a way of being curt, being sharp, cutting, however people take offense to it. And I have closed that up. I have like turned it into the rainbows and unicorns and, you know, tried to soften it. And sometimes it's like, I know I'm still here to create from the place of oneness. Sunshine's always helping me to remember. and to bring in love. And if you still find it like jarring, great, I'm your wake up call. Like maybe that's my role, you know? And so it's
Yeah.
that's the part that I'm realizing. And even just staring at my screen and I see all these like icons everywhere. And it's part of me is like, this stuff has been here forever, you know? Or I have folders of stuff that I'm like, oh, I'll come back to, or I have binders from past stuff I've gone to. And I'm like, I finally had this like realization of I need to just chuck it all because I'm never going to use it. I already know it doesn't resonate. Why do I still have it? And that's part of these old roles where we still were like, ooh, I have this catalog of all the roles I've played. What if I have to
Mm.
come back and pull out and use it like an encyclopedia and access and remember? And the reality is, no, been there, done that. Time to move forward. What role do I want to create? And I'm not even at the role of grandma, like both of you ladies. I'm not at the role of my kids have left the house, right? So
Mm.
there's roles already to come. There are roles for my being and my soul that they seem to know what's coming and I don't. And so like I don't even know what the roles are yet. And yet
Mm.
I don't need to choose and always like decide in a way that is like me um, forcing it. Sometimes the roles land in your lap and you have to say, okay, and allow and surrender to it and move forward. And I don't even know what those roles are yet. And that's the part where, as long as I can keep shedding and letting go of whatever fears me um, be here that I'm holding on to, that I'm afraid of these unknown roles, just embrace it. Because again, I'm still on the journey. I don't even know yet what else is my role to like go travel the world and just like imagine that everywhere I go, I'm the unicorn just spreading rainbows. Like maybe that's my role. Maybe it's not. Maybe it really is to be the mirror to everybody and like get them to expunge and purge all the stuff that is no longer serving. I don't know. Stay tuned.
Because it's a journey.
Yeah.
I love that. And, I think, Alana, you and I are similar. In fact, we do trigger people, mostly because we just share the truth, not realizing how sensitive people are. And I think over the years, that's been a good lesson. How can I share the truth? Maybe I'll come and ask if somebody wants advice or information, or this is what's coming through. So it's learning to communicate, because let's face it, I know it, in my upbringing, there wasn't a lot of communication. We were all just figuring out. And as a little kid, I must have thought, what is happening here? This is insane. How we're living and what the adults are doing. And so it has been a journey to figure it out so that, I want to have deep conversations without triggering people and then closing the conversation down or the relationship down. And that has been a journey. Um, and now, as we're out here doing video and having our business and just going on YouTube, going on TikTok, doing all these crazy things that most people in our family are like, I'm not doing that. It's very vulnerable, and yet it's really freeing. It's really freeing to say, this is my thought. You don't have to believe it, but if you're open to it and you want to grow and you're tired of the drama and the chaos that you grew up with, and you really want to experience your life and have unlimited fun, then let's try and do something else. Let's figure it out, right? But that does lead us down that path of becoming more unapologetically me. And maybe there are times when I don't have the answers and I don't really know what I think about certain. There's so much chaos in the world right now. I can't keep up. And I don't even know if I'm supposed to, or if supposed to have a thought about all of this. But what I do know is that the more grounded and the more I can shut that chaos out, it helps me really experience my life, help my clients, and have experiences with my family that I've never had before. So, as we close up, are there any final words Sunshine, or any last divine messages coming through you?
Um, yes, I
Woo!
would. Woo, yes. I'm just thinking too, I can totally relate on the triggering of people, right? And how, it just happens and it's not intentional, but there's always like a lesson or some kind of treasure or golden nugget
Mhm.
there. And within closing today, I would just like to, what's coming through is, I love every day to do something that I haven't ever did in life. And
Mm.
that can bring so much joy or happiness or bliss or like, oh my goodness, like I am doing this, can I be doing it, right? It could be, skinny dipping. If you've never did that, it could be dancing on a tailgate, right? It could be hanging laundry, um, in your birthday suit, right? Just be creative that way because that's how we were when we were younger, right? When we were like open and the world revolved around us kind of thing, right? Like we just went and kind of did what we felt like doing. That can bring so much joy to create that. And in gratitude, right? On just like, okay, what am I going to do? And what's available that I can try that I have never did before? And that's part of being in the moment too, the present moment. So,
Yes, the
mhm,
present moment, the best
that
place to
present
be.
moment. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes, maybe if you're somebody that's never hugged a tree, right? Or laid out under the stars or sat outside in the rain, right? Like there's just so much that we do on a typical basis that like our body function and everything else has to do. A lot of people don't practice gratitude, right? Try practicing gratitude. Like, you know, one thing when I think of unapologetic me is like how long I've always been in tune to my different bodies and systems, but like they do so much for us, and we don't stop to thank them, right? And all we do is give it trouble if we're not feeling well, and we want something to work, and we just can't get to work because we're off our feet, right? Like just live in gratitude and try something each day that you've never did before, right? Just let it come to you and see
Yeah,
what it brings to you. So
yeah.
thank you, Jacqueline, for this amazing topic today.
Beautiful words of wisdom. Yes, I love it. How about you, Alana?
Well, even just to think of me triggering people, I was just being myself. I was just like free flow, sharing, whatever. And I started shutting that down. And that was because I felt like, oh, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't be this. And so to flip it and now be this unapologetic me would mean I could actually get curious in the moment of like triggering and being like, oh wow, like, oh, I got here, and almost be more excited for
Yeah.
the fact that I just helped you. And you might not think it, but I don't even give a shit what you think. I can just be like, all right, I did my job today, and cheer myself on. I've never done that. I don't do that. I usually, because there's like the other pieces of being selfish and certain things, and
Mm.
yet that's what's really flipping. For me to be unapologetic, I have to really honor me and be the
Yeah.
best me. And I'm really coming back into what does my physical body need. I've been working on who am I emotionally and how do my emotions play into being my guide? How does my mind like operate and where is it need to be quieted? And these are pieces of me and I don't always share it. And so
Yeah.
what's kind of coming back and I can feel the fire igniting is it is time to come back and start sharing my truth, knowing I don't care what you think. And yet I need to get it out or allow myself to be. And I don't need to do anything. And
Mm.
so my favorite trip of all time was when I went on a girls' trip to Nicaragua. And what's really coming is like every time there's an opportunity for something crazy and different, I'm like, ooh, pick me. I'm in. Like, I'll be the first, I'll do it. That's me. And that's me being unapologetic. That is me saying, oh, heck yeah, I want to zip line upside down and spin me. And, and like, that's my favorite thing. That was like, that was so me. I was free. Could I have fallen off? I don't know. I knew in my heart, like, I'm just being free and being me. And I was like, the sound wanted to come out. And so, here I'm like zipping across, and they had videos on both sides, but I was like, oh, like singing and just like spinning upside down, and just these parts where it's like, it can feel like you're doing crazy stuff. But again, when else am I going to experience this?
Yeah.
Why would I say no? And if there's a part of you that's like, oh, I would love to do this, go do it.
Yeah.
I've jumped out of a plane and went skydiving, and I thought it was the greatest thing. I don't
Yes.
necessarily need to go do it again. I like, there are times when it's like, yep, one and done, I'm good. Been there, done it. I, but to do it all the time, now it's just gonna, and this is why I shift and see that as much as everyone loves logic, repetition, and habits, I'm like, that's looping in my world. I don't want to loop. Don't keep me doing the same shit every day, right? I don't need to be in insanity. I create my own most of the time. But how can I now start having those experiences? And if that's the life I start to live, unapologetically seeking the one time experience, I've like you mentioned, whether if somebody's never been really like sitting and staring at the stars, I want to go see the aurora borealis,
Yeah.
and if that means it might not be a trip of luxury like a guy might plan, but it's the journey along the way to get there that
Yeah.
usually is where the most profound experiences really come through, the things that you
Yeah.
witness and see the beauty of it all, and
Mhm.
just to be a part of it. And um yeah, to finally just feel like I get to contribute to smiling and joy in some capacity, then that's me, and I'm not going to apologize for it.
Yeah. I think that's why I'm so happy about this conversation is it is those moments when you're doing something, hanging upside down, zip lining, right? Seeing auroras borealis, or my husband, we went race car driving one time, or yeah, I flew out of a plane. I will only do it once, one and done. I'm good, right? Because I didn't even want to go. I got all the way to the top and he's hooking himself. And I said, I don't think I want to go. And before you know it, you're flying.
Oh, I wanted to. I was excited the whole time. Like, let's do it. And I was the first one out.
But it lights you up, right? Like when
Yeah.
you've done it, even if you felt the fear or you were excited about it, it lights you up from the inside out. And that excitement and that creativity just stays with you for days. I think there was a time I even did improv and just stepping out of your comfort zone and having fun with other people. That's what we are here to do. That's why we have a body. That's what's possible. And so that's our conversation for today. Please share in the comments, what have you done that lit you up? What's one thing that you would love to do that you're really afraid to do, but it's really on your bucket list? We want to know and we want to hear. And if this resonates, also if you want to share it with your friends and family, just to help other people light up and get excited about life and anything they're doing, please share. So thank you, ladies, for being here, and thank you all for watching. Bye.